Hare Krishna, everyone. Is okay, I think I see some around about 10 kids have already joined. I think we can wait 1 more minute. Sorry? Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. If you are able to see my screen, we can start with Mangalacharan prayers and then we can start with today's discussion for the topic Atman. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I request you everyone to pay attention and I will call out names one by one and that person has to read that Mangalacharan prayer. Okay. So can we start with Radha? Radha, can you start with first Mangalacharan prayer?
Yeah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam.
Now next Sham, can you start second Mangalacharan prayer?
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Eti Namine.
Okay, good. So now Rishi, can you start with Srila Prabhupada Pranati?
Okay. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine.
Okay, now Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Pranati. Can Saikrish, can you say?
Okay. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha.
Go ahead.
Madhuryojvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute.
Very good. Continue.
Namaste Gauramani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Pasiddhanta Dvanta Harine.
Good. Now, Sonika, can you start with Srila Gaurakishwar Pranati?
Yes, Mataji. Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Varyagya Murute Ripalamba Rasambodhi Padam Pujayate Nama.
Monica, can you recite Srila Bhakti Vinod Pranati?
Yeah. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Sakti Sarupaya Rupanaga Varayate.
Okay. Tanvi, can you recite Srila Jagannath Pranati? We are not able to hear Tanvi. Can you say loudly little? Rasika, can you recite Sri Vaishnava Pranama?
Mataji, is my mic glitchy?
Sorry?
Is my mic glitchy, Mataji?
A little bit, but I think it'll work.
Okay, where do I start from, Mataji?
Shri Vaishnava Pranam.
Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhaiva cha patita pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Okay. Nashita, can you recite Sri Gauranga Pranama?
Namo Mahavijite Krishna Prema Padarite Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvisa Maha.
Okay. Gaur Hari, can you please recite Sri Panchatattva Pranama?
Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
Okay. Meghna, can you please recite Sri Krishna Pranama?
He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute.
Suhurt, can you recite Sambandha Diva Pranama?
Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mama Manda Matirkate Matsaras Sarvasva Padamboju Radha Madana Mohana. Glory to all the merciful Radha and Madana Mohana. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me.
Okay, thank you. Now, Sanvi, can you recite Abhideva Pranama? Abhideya Deva Pranama. Sanvi? Okay, Udit, can you recite Abhideya Deva Pranama?
Okay, Mataji. Divyad Vrindayana Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanastu Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prashtalebhya
Presthali Pi.
Devayamano Smarami.
Good. Now, who's left? Shreya, can you recite Prayojan Deva Pranama?
Shriman Rasa Rasarambhi Vamsi Vata Tatastiva Karshan Renu Swanir Gopir
Okay. Nishka, can you recite Sri Radha Pranama?
Stakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya.
Okay. So now I'll recite the last Panchatattva Mahamantra. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Everyone say along with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, good. So I'm happy that we are back with the topic Atman, and now I will share my screen with the today's presentation. Just give me a minute. Now everyone can see my screen properly?
Yes, Mataji.
Good. So I'll just quickly summarize or have a recap for the last session. Last session we saw that there are two types of soul. One is soul, that is spirit soul, and another is super soul. And we also learned that super soul is nothing but supreme personality, right?
Yeah, Uma. So
Good.
sorry, yaar. Hello?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Very sorry, Mataji. Very sorry.
No problem, Mataji. Yes, Rasika, that's okay. You can turn off your camera if you have any issues. Okay, so we last time saw the topic Atman, which says that there are two types of soul. Also, we saw some characteristics about the soul, and now we will be discussing further in detail. So as last time I requested everyone, please pay attention and you can ask any question related to this topic anytime whenever we are going in depth, right? And you can understand that whenever someone asks question and I answer, or someone else can also add some comments, so that time in that interaction process we are gaining some extra knowledge. How? Because similar mind may be in some other person's mind, right? So we can get the doubts clarified so that we can have exact understanding of that matter, right? Okay, so what we understood last time, that there are two types of soul, that is super soul and individual soul. But the question is that when we say that our goal is that to go back to Godhead, so back means what? When we say back, that I say that I went somewhere outside and then I came back to home, so it means that earlier I was there present in home, right? So similarly here, when we say go back to Godhead, means that individual particular soul, which we call it spirit soul. So that soul was already there with super soul, staying in spiritual spiritual abode, right? Where Krishna stays. So that time we can understand that earlier when super soul and individual soul were staying together, because of something which happened, which sent individual soul to material world, right? And this happens because of super soul's decision? No, it happens because of individual soul's his own desire. So what happens is that when individual soul tries to enjoy individually, not with this unity of super soul, that time what happens? Maya. Maya means illusion. Illusion is coming into picture, and what's happening? That individual soul is particularly covered with the Maya, illusion. And because of that, what happens? Ignorance term. You remember last time Aradhya asked me what is ignorance. So I explained that it's a cloud of ignorance, means it's a mode of ignorance by which individual soul is having some disease or some effect by which he is completely forgetting super soul, and because of that he comes into the material world, right? Taking material body. Meghna, are you able to hear me now properly?
Yeah, now you're a little, yeah, last time you're a little low in volume. I couldn't hear you.
Good. If anyone has any issues, just use chat window so that I'll be able to rectify that issue. Okay, so here what we are discussing is that this is the reason, because of the individual soul's desire to enjoy individually, not with unity of super soul, we come to material world. Okay, and that's the reason we are having this material body and we are trying to enjoy in separation of the super soul, right? So what happens here just now we learned is that because of desire of individual souls to enjoy separately, this individual soul is covered with this, like I have highlighted with yellow color, like that it represents Maya, right? Illusion. And this is the way we have come to this material world, and now we are trying to enjoy not in unity of super soul but separately. So here is my purpose of telling you this background is that today we are going to learn something in depth in conception of soul and super soul, that what is exactly super soul and soul are doing in this material world, right? Because we are having material body, and inside our material body there are two terms, which is soul and super soul, which are subtle. What is subtle? That we are not able to see those two terms, but these are present inside our body, right? So now to understand that in the depth, we will have to see some concepts from Bhagavad Gita chapter number 13. So anyone knows that in Bhagavad Gita chapter number 13, what happens? If you have any time studied chapter 13, anyone can unmute and answer the question. Okay, no problem. So what happens is that in Kurukshetra, as we saw in last session, that Arjuna is requesting Krishna that please guide me. And then in second chapter, Arjuna is guided by Krishna by giving some identity, specifying the characteristics of identity, which is meant by soul concept. So here, when Krishna, like up to 12 chapters, there are some conversation happening between Krishna and Arjuna, and finally in 13th chapter, what happens is that again Krishna asks about 6 questions. So here the acronym says WISE. So WISE, W stands for wise questions, which are covered in the Bhagavad Gita verses number from 1 to 7. Then I stands for item of knowledge. 8 to 12 verses are covered here. Super soul. S stands for super soul, where in Bhagavad Gita 13 to 19 verses, the concept of super soul is mentioned. That's why I chose this Bhagavad Gita chapter to have some in-depth knowledge about super soul. And last is E. E means enjoyer. So what do you think, guys? What is E? Is that super soul or is that soul? What do you think? Yes.
Soul.
Soul?
Soul, because the soul is on the material in the material body.
Yeah, the super soul is spiritual.
Okay.
Ultimate, I think it's a super soul because he is the ultimate enjoyer of like almost everything.
Good. Anyone else? Very nice answer, Sai Krish. So we can see in depth that who is the enjoyer. You have to little bit hold up to that point, but before that, who is the enjoyer? We will first see the questions which were asked by Arjuna, and later the answers, those which are addressing the questions from Krishna, from Arjuna asked to Krishna. So we will see these one by one so that we can go in the depth for the knowledge about soul and super soul. So you will think that why I am going in depth, right? So if we see that we have got this material body, so what do you think? What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of the material body? Can anyone guess? Yes, Saikish.
The material body doesn't last forever. Like, pretty much anything material won't last forever. Everything in this material world is temporary.
Excellent.
Yeah, material is temporary, but spiritual is like everlasting.
Very nice. I like the concept which you used from last session, right? That time we talked about soul and material body. That is the difference between soul and material body. Very nicely explained. Anyone can else add some comment to this? Good. So now when we saw last time that soul is eternal, we learned that, right? And as we discussed just a few minutes ago that with the reference of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 23, we learned that it cannot be cut by any weapon, right? It cannot be burned by fire.
It cannot be moistened by water.
Good, very good. Go ahead.
Or withered by wind.
Good, good. So what was that verse? Do you remember anyone?
Yeah, I can see. It was Nainam Chindanti Sastrani.
It can't be dried by air.
Very good. Saikrish, can you recite that verse for our reference?
Okay. Nainam Chindanti Sastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavaka, Nachainam Clearly Antyapo, Associati Maruta.
Very good. Very nice. Thanks, Saikrish. So as Saikrish recited that verse, so it forces us to remind that as soul is eternal, it cannot be burnt, it cannot be killed. But this material body, this is liable to get turned all fully destroy condition, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, good. So as per Hindu rituals, you must have understood that after death, what happens with the body? Anyone can say? We burn the body, right? After death, we have to burn that body, right? And
The soul doesn't get burned.
exactly. So this is the difference between soul and material body. That material body is not everlasting, but on the contrary, soul is everlasting. It's eternal. And this is the difference when we come to the conclusion that there is a gross difference between soul and material body. Then when we got this material body, what are the disadvantages? Advantages is that we can enjoy, we can have the sense enjoyment, right? What are the five senses? Can anyone say five senses? Go
The
ahead.
smell, taste,
Eat, smell, see,
hear, touch.
feel.
Yes, perfect. So we have given five senses to enjoy. But when we say that we can enjoy with these five senses, same time, some another thing also happens simultaneously. Anyone knows? So, like for example, I like very much sweets, right? So I have some sweets. I had prasadam, but I ate so much prasadam that my stomach got hurt, right? My stomach started hurting. So I enjoyed my sense, touch sense. I touched that sweet. I felt nice. Then I ate through mouth and I got some pleasure. But because with that pleasure, what came? Some misery came, right? Pain is the form of misery. So when I felt that, yeah, my stomach is hurting. So why stomach hurts? Because we have stomach, right? It's the obvious answer. We have stomach. And what is the stomach? Sorry? So what is the stomach basically? Stomach is a part of our material body. So if I have stomach, I have this material body, I am bound to have some disadvantages of that, right? With advantages, disadvantages also I have to take it. And what these three disadvantages are there in the fold of miseries, and that is called threefold miseries. Have you any time, I think I have discussed in some previous year, last year, for the threefold miseries. Anyone can remember those threefold miseries? Shreya, do you know?
I think it was misery caused by other humans. Misery caused by nature. Demigods and misery caused by nature.
Yes, perfect. So Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmik. So one is which is caused by our own mind, right? Which is another is called which is caused by other human beings or demigods, like that. And third category is which is miseries which is caused by other jivas. For example, the best example, can anyone give the best example of third category of misery which is caused by other jivas with related to current situation?
Corona.
Yes, you're right. So corona is the best example of one kind of misery which is caused by another jivas. So these are some disadvantages which comes along with the advantages of sense enjoyment. And that is where the question comes that if I want to get rid of this material body, which gives me sense enjoyment, but also gives me some miseries along with that, is there any chance by which I can eliminate through this process of getting material body? Anyone can say, what is that? What is that escaping solution?
Chanting Krishna's name, doing
Chanting the holy name.
Yes, perfect. So by chanting Krishna's name or by taking shelter of holy names, what is this process called? Devotional process, right? Devotional service. And that is where the question comes that what kind of knowledge we should have that which forces us to think all these parameters, right? So I just gave you the glimpse what we are going to see today. So are you guys excited to see what self-realization means?
Yes.
Very good. Good. So I'm happy that you are inquisitive, and that is also one kind of quality of a good devotee. So I'm happy that you all have a good qualities of devotees. So first, we will see what questions were asked by Arjuna, which which are answered by Krishna, and which leads us to think in a path which which actually emphasizes the point that what is meant by super soul and soul is very necessary in our life, right? In the human life. And that ultimately leads us to have the conclusion that we should think of the actual goal of our life, which is to go back to Godhead. But how all this will happen, all these things will happen, we will see through this further slides. Okay. So what were the wise questions which were asked by Arjuna? So he asked 6 questions. What he asked, what is Prakriti? What is Prakriti means what is nature? Then who is Purusha? Means who is the enjoyer? Already Cyclist explained us that it is super soul. And his answer was perfect. Then third question was what is Kshetra? What is the field of activities? Fourth question was who is Kshetrajna? Means who is the actual knower of the field? Fifth question was Jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge and the process of knowing, which we just now discussed, that which is very important to lead us to the sixth question, that is Gayam, which is the object of knowledge and which will lead us to think, to force that actual, by understanding the actual object of knowledge, only it's possible for a devotee to devote himself towards Krishna and the attain ultimate goal of life, that is to attain Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So we'll see one by one. So Lord Krishna replies that what is Prakriti. Prakriti is nature. And what is nature? It's just the phenomenal reality. We'll see in depth in further slides what exactly it means. Then second term was Purusha, the enjoyer, where he says, Lord Krishna says that he is also the knower, right? He is the super soul, and knowledge is to understand this body and its knowers. And something like a living entity is a citizen in a country and knows his own plot and own plot, but the Lord is the king who knows whole country. So what does it mean that? Oh, I'm sorry. So what does it mean that? Anyone can say? What does it mean?
It means that like Krishna, well, the soul only knows some little bit about the field, but like the Krishna knows everything.
Correct, exactly. So he is the knower, right? Of what? Only about soul? No, not one soul, all souls, all field of activities, right? So what was the answers given by Krishna is summarized over here, that Prakriti and or nature we can relate to the phenomenal reality. What is Purusha? Purusha is the enjoyer, who is supreme personality of Godhead. What is Kshetra? Kshetra is the field of activities. Kshetra is the field of activities which is body. Then Kshetrajna, just 1 minute. So Purusha is okay. So the Purusha term is the enjoyer, which leads to supreme personality of Godhead.
Mataji, you're really quiet.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're better now. Before you were like really quiet.
Oh, okay, sorry. And Kshetrajna is the term which signifies that the knower of the field. And who is the knower of the field? There are two Kshetrajnas. One is super soul and another is spirit soul. Fifth term says that Jnanam, knowledge is that is knowledge and the process of knowing, which means that we are learning something about soul and super soul. Okay. And sixth term is Gayam. Okay. Which says that what is the object of knowledge? That is super soul. So anyone can say that what is exactly Prakriti?
Mataji, I think like sometimes I can hear you and then I can't hear
Yeah.
you.
Sometimes it's going quiet and then sometimes it's normal.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it audible now properly?
No, Mataji, you're really quiet.
Yeah, it keeps on like changing.
Oh, okay. Let me know if you are not, if my voice is not audible. Okay, so Prakriti, here we are learning something about Prakriti. So Prakriti, actually it contains 24 elements. So you can, I cannot go in depth actually right now because I have much more material to share with you. So just if you go with the concept of Sankhya philosophy, it says that our material body is made up of 24 elements, right? And 24 elements, what are these 24 elements? One is intellect, that is intelligence. Another second one is ego, that is ahankara, which is just the sense. So these two are subtle things which are not visible. And then there is third element, which is mind, which is also subtle. And then there are fourth element, which fourth type, which consists of 5 sense organs, then 5 organ of actions, 5 subtle elements, and then again 5 gross elements. And I will share this presentation later. You can just have a glance into it, and you can actually see what are the 5 organ senses, what are the 5 organ of action, 5 subtle elements and 5 gross elements. So I have just summarized this in the form of the chart over here, which is called 5 Tantra, 5 Gyanendriya, 5 Karmendriya, and 5 Mahabhuta, right? So after that, also there are some 5 gross elements, right? These gross elements are also called Mahatattva. So you can have the detailed overview afterwards. We will just see the characteristics. So now here, what is the characteristics of this Prakriti? This Prakriti is pure objectivity, right? It's a phenomenal reality. But does it have consciousness? No, it does not have any consciousness. It's non-conscious. And it's Mal Prakriti in equilibrium. Means this Prakriti is common, right? It's present in everyone. So now Prakriti, and second portion was Purusha. So 1 minute, I will also show you the Purusha. So here the term Purusha, we learned that it's Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So we saw first 2 terms, that is Purusha and Prakriti. Now we will go to third term. So third and fourth term was Kshetra, that is field, and Kshetrajna, that is knower of field. So what do you understand? What exactly field means? If you see this picture, what do you understand? What may be the field? What does exactly it means, and what exactly means by Kshetrajna? Anyone can say.
Maybe like something to do with like farming.
Yeah, so farming is what? It's an activity, right?
So maybe Kshetra is like the field in which they plant, and Kshetrajna is the farmer.
Yes.
Because he knows what to plant and knows where each thing goes.
Right. So as we see here, the same analogy if we use for our body and our activities. So our body is the field which relates to this field, actual field over here, and knower of the field. Yes.
Why are the cow's horns blue?
Okay, that we will
Cows or
discuss later.
oxes?
Okay, that's not exactly related to our topic. I can answer you that later. Okay.
Okay.
So exactly, field is something similar to this field, farm field, which we can relate to our body, and Kshetrajna is the knower of that field, like a farmer who is farming, right? So as we learned earlier that what is body made out of? It is made out of 24 elements. So the body that is filled, we already learned something which is biological, right? Biological plus subtle things. It's a combination of these two. And that knowledge of the field of activities and the knower of the activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. So what do you think? Why I'm discussing about this body, about this person who is the knower of the body? Can anyone relate to our concept spirit soul? And there is a hint in this slide. Anybody understood the hint?
No, Mataji.
No?
No,
Consciousness. Why we are thinking about all this body and the knower, which relates to our next concept, which says that spirit soul is some symptoms of consciousness, right? So our material body, you know that when we are born, we are in the form of babies. So there are 5 different levels of consciousness as our body grows from childhood to boyhood or girlhood. Then we mature again, our body grows, then we become adult, then again we started our body with deterioration, and finally we are becoming old, and after that death occurs, right? So these are different stages, and according to this material body, as it changes in different stages, we are having different levels of consciousness. So 5 levels of consciousness are Annamaya. When we are babies, we are just enjoying some eating, right? Something putting in mouth, anything it may be sometimes. Then second is Pranamaya. So Pranamaya means when we are little more matured, we just think about our career, our goal in life, what we are thinking to achieve in the material point of view. So that is the level of consciousness when we become old, right? Older. Then again, when we are at the some middle age, like something like my age, then that time what we see, what we think that what is more than this career, what is more than this earning money in life. So what is the purpose exactly? That at that stage we start on thinking in those directions, right? So that is called Jnanamaya. Then again, when we grow further, our body becomes start like aging. That time we are thinking something about Vijnan Maya, which is spiritual consciousness. I know you guys are lucky that you are thinking at this level, but that is also the consciousness level which comes into devotee because of Lord Krishna's mercy, because we are taking shelter of Krishna's holiness, right? But these are by natural for a layman, these are the different level of consciousness according to the body's growth. So after Vijnan Maya, what is the last consciousness is Ananda Maya. If the person is lucky, if that human is lucky to take shelter of his spiritual master and ultimately the whole shelter of holiness, then that person can have some self-knowledge that there is some relationship between soul and super soul. So these are 5 consciousness. I just wanted to show here that these are the things it happens in with consciousness to our with respect to our spirit soul, which is in the form of human body. Sorry, anyone asked anything?
Your sound is cutting out again. Like
Oh, so did you hear properly 5 levels of consciousness?
I heard a couple, but a couple of them were like really quiet.
yeah. Can you repeat?
Mataji, you're muted.
I think you need to like switch your microphone. That might help.
Or
Okay,
maybe try
hear
different
me
devices.
properly?
Yeah.
So I was saying that there are 5 levels of consciousness which are okay, which is which are as per our growth of material body, and those are Annamaya when we are babies, then when we grow older, Pranamaya comes, some more matured consciousness, then Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. So these 5 levels of consciousness are very important for us to understand the actual consciousness levels as per our material body grows further with respect to our spirit soul. Now the 5th and 6th term, which says Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So what exactly it means that when we know about this consciousness and we know that we are the spirit soul which who is going to take part in the activities, so what exactly it correlates to, that we will see further, right? So when here we talked about some consciousness which was mentioned at the end, Anandamaya, that was the pure state. So when we have that consciousness, that is the ultimate goal which we try to develop, which that's the spirit soul in the form of material body, human body, we are trying to achieve. So when we see that material nature and living entities are eternal, we have natural desire to enjoy, right? And when we say that we have some natural desire to enjoy, so accordingly our desire, according to our material enjoyment consciousness, Lord will have sanctioned those desires. So these are the items of knowledge which Krishna told Arjuna that if you want to become a devotee, then all these qualities devotee should have. That is humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, accepting a spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, then humility, non-violence. Okay, so all these all these qualities are very important for us to achieve that Anandamaya consciousness, which is having the ultimate, which will serve the purpose of gaining the actual attainment of goal of our life, which is, what is the goal of our life? Can anyone say?
To go back to Godhead. Go back to Godhead.
To
Yes.
go back to God.
Back to Godhead.
Correct. So at the initial stage, when we saw that we were there in the spiritual world, enjoying with enjoying the spirit soul with super soul, that was again our material, our goal of life, right? To go back to that stage. Correct? So here, if we say that these all items we have understood, right? 6 answers were given by Krishna to Arjuna. Now, what does exactly it means to understanding the concept of super soul? So super soul, if we see that he is nothing but the supreme personality of Godhead, and he is the, from him all the Vedas comes, right? That is, Krishna is the originator of the all Vedas. So if we understand that concept, then we can understand that yes, something to know about this super soul is very important, right? So this is the item of knowledge which was explained by Krishna to Arjuna, so that he can develop some consciousness, right? And what is that consciousness? Consciousness is that when Purusha means the person and Prakriti means nature, it comes into contact, right? Means, can you correlate the picture of earlier picture I showed you, that farming field, right? So if that combination is there, then something will happen. What will happen in that example? Can anyone say, if the person is farming and he is having some prakriti, that is rain and soil and everything, then what will be the product? What will be the ultimate result of that action? Anyone can say.
The crops growing.
Perfect. So what is happening here, that there is something result which is getting some action of that ultimate action, right? And exactly that happens, same thing in our life. But how does it happen? It happens with the sanction of that desire by God. So when Purusha and Prakriti comes together and some activity takes place, that is always there with the sanction of that super soul, which is staying in our heart. And what does it, do you remember what does it do? I told you in last session that there is a tree, common tree, which correlates to our body, and there are two birds. One is spirit soul and another is super soul. And I have told you that time that super soul is watching us. And also, I think Sham or Aradhya asked me whether he has camera or something, and I told no, it's a subtle thing. He's all pervading, so he can just have his.
It was Aradhya who told you that.
He has some power to see it, right? Do you remember all, guys?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, correct. So also that super soul, what he does, he sanctions our desire. And when he sanctions our desire, we know that what we should do, we should have the correct desire. What is the correct desire? That we should, whatever material activities we are doing, we ultimately should aim to correlate to the spiritual practice, right? Or to gain the spiritual knowledge or spiritual process, devotional process. So as per Bhagavad Gita 15.15 verse says that I am seated in everyone's heart, from me come remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. So this super soul gives us these three things. These three things are gifted to us by super soul. and that is individually given to all individual persons. So if we take shelter of God, really, if we take shelter of holy names with wholeheartedly, then He will give us remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, which we will be utilizing to get our consciousness back, which was covered because of the Maya illusion, and which will try to take out that darkness, and it will lead us to that all pervading illuminating light, which is Brahman, which is the super soul, supreme soul, right? Super soul. So all by Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta. I am knower of the Vedas. So after when we understand everything, so what is this process? This process is by which the knower of the field, the soul, transcends the limitations of his field of activities, is called a process of knowledge. And this process includes humility and pridelessness, as well as its most important item, accepting the shelter of bona fide spiritual master and practicing unalloyed devotional service under his care. Krishna is speaking in a broader context than just bhakti, also for jnanis. So all these knowledge was imparted by Sri Krishna to Arjuna, so that Arjuna can attain his consciousness back, which will help him to lead to the perfect path to go back to Godhead. So now here we understand something more in depth today about Super Soul, right? So Super Soul, I'll just read out quickly. So these are the verses actually which is meaningful in this 13th chapter when we talk about something about Super Soul. Super Soul is everywhere, are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, Super Soul exists pervading everything. Although the Super Soul appears to be divided among all beings, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he devours and develops all. So he does these things in the form of Super Soul sitting in everyone's heart. But altogether, Super Soul is only one. He had just divided, he had just replicated himself in the number of portions, right? Which sits in the form of super soul in spirit soul, with the spirit soul in our material body. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. So why we want to know all these things, all these truths? Because this knowledge was given by Krishna to Arjuna. And if we also hear this knowledge, if we also try to understand these concepts about super soul, then what will happen? The field of activities, which is the body, the knowledge and the knowledge have been summarized by me, described by me summarily. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attend to my nature. So the purpose of knowing everything, all these facts about super soul will inspire us to attain the that supreme object, right? Which is go back to Godhead. So Krishna explains all these things to Arjuna so that Arjuna can get his courage back and he'll be able to fight against the opposite party, right? So what we understood today, that Purusha is super soul. One who understands material nature, Prakriti, the living entity Purusha, and the interaction of the modes of material nature will be liberated from birth and death. So what is the characteristics of super soul? He is supreme self. He is pure conscious and we are impure stage. So we don't have that much pure consciousness. But in order to attain the pure consciousness, we need to know all these terms, right? Whatever we learned today. He is inactive. He is just sanctioning our desires, right? He is not actually doing. He is unchanging. Does Krishna change anytime? No, right? In the spiritual world, Krishna is always same, fresh, ever fresh. A passive witness. He is the witness. He is in the form of super soul in our heart. And he is multiple, means all with all spirit souls, he is giving company by replicating himself, right? Some perceive the self by meditation, some through knowledge, and some through action. They all transcend death. So when we perform devotional service, so some of the devotees perform devotional service, some are impersonal devotees. They just think about the effulgence of light in the form of Krishna, and some just meditate on themselves, which is called Ashtanga Yoga, Hatha Yoga. You must have heard. So these are the different types by which human is trying to attain this goal. But actually, one who sees the super soul everywhere is liberated. Then what happens? One who sees that action are carried out by Mother Nature and not by the soul truly sees. Like the sky that does not mix with anything, the soul does not mix with the body, though situated in it. And what we should understand from that we should always give equal importance, equal treatment to all souls, right? Even it may be insect, even it may be trees, even it may be other human, we should treat everyone on equal vision, as everyone, all living entities has spirit soul and super soul. That's the reason we should treat everyone equally, all living entities. So the living entities, Purusha, illuminates the consciousness. They who understand this will attain the supreme goal. So the summary is today's lesson is that it is summarized in verse number 13.35 that one who should know the distinction between the body and the owner of the body and the super soul. So we learn three terms. One is body, one is supreme soul, and another is spirit soul, which is the individual soul. Then also one should recognize the process of liberation as described in verses 8 through 12. Then one can go to the supreme destination. So what is this supreme destination? How we can achieve that? By taking just the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, one can learn this science, and in this form, we can avoid becoming entangled. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, do you have any questions? Did everyone understood? Sorry, I went through very fast today because I had so much matter to share with you, material, but I know, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's session. Please,
Mataji. I understood it, but some things are a little complicated, Mataji.
Yeah, you can ask quickly questions. We still have 2 minutes if we see the timeline. Anyway,
No, not in particular, just some because you explained what each word stood for, but then I forgot what they stood for, so sometimes it was hard to understand, and then some stuff it was just overall a little complicated, but mostly the first 30 minutes of class I got that, but then the last 10 minutes were a little complicated.
No problem. Actually, I want to share this material with you so that you can go over over this material, and you can also send me the questions in the WhatsApp group, our MadanMohan group. That way also we can I can answer your questions. But anyone can quickly ask what particular point you did not understand.
Mataji, technically, is the super soul inside you or in this spiritual world watching you? Because you said Krishna split into many.
Inside us also, and in spiritual world also. Both places it's present.
Oh, okay.
So ultimately, we just have to remember that soul and super soul, this realization, this science is very much important for us to understand that we should think about going back to Godhead. This is the 1 point summary to this. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If please forgive me if I have misspoken anything, and I hope you enjoyed today's session. Next session will be covered with different topics by different teachers. But yes, I'm still there on WhatsApp anytime. If you feel any question, you can please text me, or you can also send me an email. Hare Krishna.
So thank you. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripya sindhubhyascha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Bye,
Would you be
Mataji.
able to make me the host before leaving?
Yes, Prabhuji, 1 minute.
Yes. Hare Krishna, kids. How are you?